So welcome formally to the Asian Supervision Network. We have been meeting for 5, 6 years now, and we meet once a month. The goal of this network is to get people together who are supervisors or interested in supervision and discuss different topics and learn from each other. So most of you here have presented already. You have not presented yet. You know that I have been asking you to do it. So think about next year, or we still have a few months. And here we have people from, well, maybe we can introduce each other really fast because one of our goals is to build community. And really make me very happy when I see people from Asia because sometimes we have people from everywhere else but Asia. So it made me very happy when I see people here representing from Australia, Malaysia, India, Singapore, China, and also we have a special guest, Janet, who has been with us also since the beginning, and she woke up very early because she's in Europe, Clara, so it's 5 in the morning for her. So she's a really, we have here the whole continent, like as you're waking up, Clara getting ready to go to sleep because it's midnight for her. So let's go around really fast and say your name and anything you want to say about you in one sentence. So Clara, get to know, and we get to know each other. Yeah, I don't need to introduce myself, everybody knows me.
So who would like to begin? Do I begin? I begin. Midnight special, like Creedence Clearwater Revival. So let the midnight special shine a light on me. I'm Clara from Argentina, and I've always lived in Buenos Aires and recently moved back into the city from living among lagoons and wildlife into traffic. So I'm still adapting and happy to be here. And thank you, Damian, for the invitation. So who goes next?
Before
Sraba,
you
my
go,
friend.
before we go there, just an important part is that Clara is like me. We are from the same city and the same place, and we know each other for many years. And she is part of the Center for Excellence for Supervision, and she has been that part of it for a couple of years. And now she's the chair. So we're very proud that we have a chair for the Center of Excellence at EMCC from Argentina. So I'm very proud of that. So I want to also you to know that. So she's coming today to talk about the new EMCC revised framework. And this recording, I know many people are not being able to be here today, but my goal is that people listen to this and learn about that later too. Let's keep
Thank
I'm
you.
going.
Shraban. I'm calling from New Delhi. I've done supervision with Damian and Clara, and me were the same cohort. And happy to see the Clara and listen.
So now, Sraba, your turn to bring somebody in.
Frederick.
So I'm Frédéric Morris. I'm in Australia. I've got a French accent because I'm originally from France, but I've been here for 33 years now, and I did coaching supervision with Damian, which was an amazing experience. 23, 22, 23. Then I had an accident with concussion, so I've been out of the space for a little while and came back last year. So
Great to see you here.
nice to see you all. Jen, Elvia, so good to see you.
Happy to see you too, Frederic. I didn't know why we didn't see you. Now I know. Take care of yourself. Well, I'm calling from Paris. Well, as Damien said, we met many years ago at Oxford Brookes in England for supervision. And I mean, it's such a wonderful place to meet and to learn together for me. So that's why my heart is connected to a CSN. So I'm an executive coach and a coach supervisor. So I'm very happy to be here and to be with all of you, and also doing the book club for the American Coaching Supervision Network.
Yeah.
Great to have
And
you.
I know most all of you here. Welcome, Clara. Maybe it's the first time we are meeting. Otherwise, I know everyone.
We have met before, but we have been attending different things.
Wonderful.
I've been chasing you silently.
Keep on, keep on.
You gonna tag somebody?
Well, seem that I will choose you. Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks, Sydney. Thank you. Good to see everyone. I'm Sim Chu, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The warm weather I'm an executive coach as well as a coach supervisor, and I love the reflective practice, both also from EMCC. Recently, also been working on supervision for team coaching. So I've been actually supporting the cohorts that's been running in our region, and I'm quite excited to see what's the latest competencies that we have right now. I'm so happy to see everyone. I missed the last session. Somehow something clashes, something happens, and I feel so bad. And the last month I wanted to come, Damian said there was no session.
Yeah, we have a break, a holiday break.
Yeah, I know, the summer break. We got no summer here. Thank you. So I'll invite Scott.
Hi, thank you. My name's Scott. I'm in Wuhan, Director of Coaching Services for educational services company, Life Plus. So coaching, training, coaching internal clients. Just graduated from Damian's program in May and had a wonderful time. So happy to be here. And Kevin, I think you're going to wrap this up.
Hi, I'm dialing in from Singapore. I graduated from Damian's supervision cohort last year in 2024. So still trying to get my hours. That's getting a little bit more difficult now because I've taken up a full-time role at ESIA doing career coaching. So there's been talk about introducing supervision here, so I'll be interested to see what that looks like.
Good luck. That's great. Clara, we are ready for you.
Okay, so let's see if I can share my screen. And let's begin from the beginning. So what we agreed on is that we would talk about this evolving supervision and what's underlying all this revised framework. As Damian said, this has been a journey as part of a CFE in charge of that. So I said something about myself before. I'll add a couple of things. That's me working, that's me with family. That's me, the painter up there. I took up watercolor painting this year, so I'm still trying to learn, which is great. Learning is always great fun, I think, for all of us. That's why we go into supervision and we go into different things. I have a terrible cold. That's one thing that's not in the pictures, but it's in my voice. And that group, you see a familiar face there. So to my left, there's Damian, and to my right, his parents, who are also supervisors, you might know that. And all the others, except for my husband and one other friend, all of us are members of our own network, that is the Network for Spanish-Speaking Supervisors. And that was at home. Damian was down here in Argentina. We got together at home, and since that is part of our network, I thought it would be nice to share with your network. So, CFE for supervision. I've been with EMCC. I had been actively working with ICF before. I love volunteer work. I do a lot of volunteer work, also locally for Argentina as coach and a supervisor for volunteers that work with different NGOs. So part of my work is understanding EMCC's ecosystem and all the different CFEs, all the different centers for excellence. So to give you a picture, some of you might know, Araceli Canedo Bevington is the VP for Thought Leadership. So all CFEs let's say, get together in conversations with Araceli so that we can align conversations among the very many different groups of interest. For those of you who may have been to the global conference in June in Warwick in the UK, Angela, who had been leading the CFE up until then, presented the revised framework, which was the result of 2.5 years, 3 years of work, of which I was part. When Angela said, okay, I've had a great time, I've enjoyed my work here, she decided to step down, and we decided that I would take over leading that group, which is an enormous honor. It's an amazing working space, an amazing learning space with Michelle Moral from France, with Felicia Law from Singapore, with Anna from Portugal, with Ken from the US. Ken is also leading the newly formed CFE for group coaching, not team coaching, but group coaching. And we are in the process of incorporating new volunteers from other geographies and with different backgrounds and experience. So what is it that we do, apart from revising frameworks, is we aim at deepening the comprehension of supervision for our own continuous professional and personal development, and for our own selves, all of us who've been through training. At least I'll speak for myself, but I've shared that with colleagues. We have the feeling that our coaching has become richer, our mentoring skills have become richer. So I think that's a very nice and interesting place to be that needs to keep up with the changing times. So fortunately, we had Michelle Moral in the group who accompanied us to see what the road to this revision conversation had been. And that began back in 2006. 2006, when, if you see, the EMCC Global was not very global, actually, because it was EMCC UK, ICF UK, the Association for Coaching, the Association for Professional Executive Coaching Supervision, the Association of Coaching Supervision, and that beautiful roundtable came up with 7 competences, that supervision would go along by. 2015, EMCC 2.0 came up with 6 competences and the first global accreditation for supervisors, the first credentialing that EMCC decided on. 2019 was a previous framework, and there we had 8 competences, full-fledged 3.0, and now 2025, the revised framework. And I would like to explain to you how we came about that revision. So what is next? What we're doing now, that is socializing the framework, talking about it, so that we can better understand that at least something that I've learned in these years with EMCC is its non-prescriptive nature. It's not the tick the box, but this is a framework for us to have a reference to and to have conversations around. So being part of that journey is quite interesting. Now, how do you go about that? All of you are already familiar with the competences, so I'm not going to explain them, but I thought it would be nice just to have them in front of us. I tend to skip one, forget one, but that has happened to me with coaching, with team coaching, so I'm not good at remembering frameworks by heart. And there is this conversation of Are they core standards? Are they capacities? Are they capabilities, skills? One of the members of our group has been with assessing civil servants within the UK for years. And she said that conversation has been going on for centuries and it will continue. Let's say, European community has come up with some guidelines you agree on, but that does not happen to other countries. And I come from a background in education, and that conversation has been going on, at least to my knowledge, since that must have been before my time, but since the 70s. So I'm not going to go into whether it is one thing or the other, but managing the supervision process, facilitating development, providing support, professional standards, all the levels of awareness, self-relational and systemic, and facilitating supervision groups. We did know, at least EMCC knew, that there was something missing, so we had to do something about it. What was our process and what was underlying the process? There were main drivers: complexity and the dynamic nature of team coaching. And that was something that had not been included before. And the other driver is our relationship with and our mindset towards technology. In fact, we are having a webinar. It will be in Spanish, pity, but it will be very interesting, on our relationship and our mindset towards AI. So how do we take care of this? How do we have this conversation? So what we chose to do was, number one, keep the structure. 2019, we thought about a different, and we said, no, simplicity first. Same look and feel, same structure, same number of competencies. I mean, the roller coaster of 7, 6, 8 said we keep it there. We, at some point, wanted a 9th, but then we said, no, we're going to confuse everybody. So let's keep it to 8.
What were going to be the 9th?
It was going to be all the relational, energetic aspect. It was mostly all the field, which we tried to include in the different competencies.
Clara, do you want people to ask you a question while you're presenting, or would you rather wait till the end?
As you wish. I'm going to make room for questions, but we are not that many, so you
It's a
can
small
stop
group,
me
yeah. So if people have
at any
questions,
point.
to make it interactive, if anybody has a question, like I was curious about that when you said that, I think it will be fun just to hear people's questions in a moment. If that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. It's a very intimate conversation.
Yeah.
So, and I'd rather keep it a conversation, not just monologue. So what we did is, okay, analyzing rigorously. Remember that our group is quite multicultural. So that was a challenge too. Learning to talk with each other, to look at different realities where supervision is regulated, where supervision is just beginning to exist. All those things came into the conversation, and we said, okay, we need to go and talk to world leaders in supervision. And at the beginning, we had this challenge of, okay, are we going to talk just to the UK? Not because we have anything against it, but because they have been so robust in beginning the supervision roadmap. So we said, okay, let's see how much more diverse we can become. Damian was one of the people we held conversations with, and we went with the framework as we had revised it and said, okay, this is it. What do you like? What don't you like? What do you suggest? We got lots of feedback. It was quite interesting to organize it. And the feedback we got, this was interesting, was anonymous. We didn't know whether it was David Clutterbuck or Peter Hawkins or Robbie Jowett or Damian, because naturally, all of us were going to be biased. So whoever had gathered the information came in without names. And it was like, who could that have been that said such a thing? But we managed quite well. We involved the different chapters. Once everything was put together, we said, okay, this is what we have prepared. Now it's your turn to critique. And that was interesting because from my Latin American perspective, I said, okay, we're going to get a shower of criticism and no, this is not right. You should have done this. And what we got was requests for help at socializing supervision, at talking about the importance of supervision. And I would say worldwide. So it was a very interesting process. We know it's an iterative approach. This is nowhere near perfection, and we are aware of that. But at some point, you need to say, okay, this is it. We need to work on what we have rather than aiming for perfection. Questions that might come up for you, and again, it doesn't mean I have the answer. I'm just holding the space for this conversation here. So anything that comes up, or do we move on? Damian, you tell me, because I don't see everybody.
No, I think that's just if we're a small group, it's just, you don't need to raise your hand, just ask a question. If it doesn't sound like anybody has a question, so we should move on.
Okay. Probably questions will come later, and I have my own questions to you.
Just a
as
comment,
well.
Clara. What is interesting for me listening to this is that I have already heard the presentation. Okay, Michelle Moral did the presentation for the Global Supervisors Network, and what is interesting is that there is paying attention to what are the trends. So one is team coaching, that's different. Now there is, particularly now that ICF has a credential around it. EMCC had it first. So supervision. EMCC has been providing supervision credential for many years now. Like it seems that ICF comes behind. But the element of technology and how we include technology in the competencies and team coaching, I think is very interesting for everybody to pay attention to.
It's including them, it's helping ESQA training programs see how they approach the competences around team coaching and the competences around our relationship with technology. And I can then provide examples, and I'm sure that some of you already have them. One client, and this was not from supervision, but from coaching, he's a very intense leader. And one day he said, you know what? We were beginning his coaching session, and he said, you know what? I took my AI to the mountain over the weekend. And I said, oh my God, your AI to the mountain. But I didn't make any judgment call. I made it to myself. And he said, you know what I found? Because I had a very long conversation with her, and with her, she's way nicer than you are, because she doesn't challenge me. And to me, it was like, oh my God, what is happening to human beings if they begin having conversations with AIs that are not challenging? Things like what happened, unfortunately, with that kid that committed suicide because he'd been having a very interesting conversation with this AI talking about suicide. So my client was not that drastic, but he did say that he didn't like me that much after talking to his AI. And as a supervisor, we need to deal with that. How do we go into reflective mode with our clients when that is a kind of hybrid reality we're dealing with? So those are the two things, team coaching and technology, as very important things. So the
Clara,
framework, yes.
Clara, I'm just curious about when you mentioned also group coaching. So is there going to be a distinction between team coaching and group coaching? That's one. And as you mentioned, AI being there. And I was wondering, in the world, we're using a lot of apps, so even healthcare apps, the app tells you whether, your, let's say your weight or your pulse and all that. And somehow we receive not so pleasant news better because it comes from technology. Whereas I was just noticing myself when that comment came from the app, and I accepted it. I didn't get annoyed. But if a human being told me that, I would say, that's really not very nice. So it's like, how do you recognize there's some neutrality when you receive something from technology, and then it's harder. How does a human being, also as helping professions also recognize that technology has its place, how they complement and things like that. So I'm wondering where EMCC supervision is going in that direction in terms of technology as well.
That's a very good question. And I think that's a question we should answer as a community of supervisors, because there are ethical considerations, there are emotions at stake, there is our most humanized human part that does profit from reflective thinking and from being challenged. And yet it's so comfy when you're not, or when you're told your health is not right, but in a very matter-of-fact way. So there's no one to get angry with. So I think it's a, sorry, I think it's a conversation worth having. We were preparing today. It was a pre-conference conversation to say, okay, how much time for this, for breakout rooms, and we spent an hour and a half in a very heated discussion, because we colleagues who practically trained and grew together would not come to an agreement. Some were looking at the technology, and some of us were looking at the techniques, and others at the mindset. So I think we are nowhere near comprehending the complexity. And I was talking, I don't know if you are familiar with Jas Brazul. He's the CFE lead for research. And we had a very interesting conversation last week. And he said, okay, this is coaching 5.0. So he's been doing research on that. He gave a lot of principles of what each stage entailed. And this one entails understanding that unavoidable interaction with AI. Because I might say, okay, I'm not using it. I use it all the time, but my client's client uses it. My client's client has human employees and has AI agents reporting to them. So personally, I don't think I grasp this in its full extent yet. So I think it's a very good question, and lots of other questions come up. So that's why here the invitation is to think about self-awareness and our own ways of perceiving and being. What is a relationship? Is it fear? Is it uncertainty? Is it a threat? Whatever it is, will somehow tinge the way I supervise and how I show up for that supervision. So another invitation is to cultivate ethical maturity. And ethical maturity, not the one that you can always take back to your supervisor, but having to do that in real time. People that come up with dilemmas or cultural complexities that probably we have never thought about. In our group, we had diversity and we also had neurodiversity. Diagnosed for some of our members. And at some points, the conversations were very intense and challenging because we needed to find ways of relating to each other from our own diversities. That also comes into supervision as what needs to take care of mentors and coaches and supervisors and team coaches. It's also encouraging an inclusive practice, and we might claim to be inclusive, and at times we're not. So being aware of our own biases is important. What we think of Latin Americans or Asians or whoever else comes into play. And being aware of the multiple levels of stakeholders. Peter Hawkins is already talking about so many eyes that it's like too many. But all these group dynamics, all the energies that come into play, AI influence contexts, and all that makes us ponder what is our horizon of responsibility as supervisors? Who are we responsible to? What is the size of the world we are reflecting on? So whenever I say this, it's like, wow. And I will not say who, but one of the thought leaders consulted when we thanked back, we sent an email saying, okay, thank you for your contribution. Said something like, thank you, I think it's robust, it's interesting. I don't think I live up to all those standards. It was like, okay, probably it's a humble and self-aware point of view of, okay, how am I walking the talk? How are we walking the talk? So any other question, or do we move on to my own questions? You tell me. Okay, I'll move on. So in terms of competence, I will take only a few, not all of them. We maintain the three aims of supervision intact. We think about facilitating development as enabling the supervisee to enhance professional standards within the wider system through facilitated reflection, bearing in mind all the group and team dynamics. One conversation was, can we supervise team coaches if we're not team coaches? Do we need a specific training? And we came to the awareness that we need to understand group dynamics. We need to understand all the very many things that come into play. And if you're not a team coach, we might have a restricted view on that. And we paid attention. EMCC had already issued papers and documents around reflexivity and reflectivity as two distinctive fields. And we try to include that. Let me see if I can move this.
Clara, this is the first
Yes.
time that I see this.
That you see.
Reflectivity and
Reflexivity.
reflexivity.
Reflection and reflexivity. Okay.
Never heard that before.
Reflection. And I will take the definition, and we can go and have complete meetings on this alone. I think. Reflection is a relational dynamics of thinking for a purpose. So we have a dialogue on a subject and the perceptions that emerge around the professional practice. That is reflective practice, what we do. Now, reflexivity is the capacity to position myself in a system and comprehend all the relationships, my sense of agency, how my thinking modifies what we are talking about. That is the reflexivity of what is happening. And that's not an action, it's a disposition. It's how I show up as a supervisor. Probably it's got to do with parallel processes, if you will, for all of us who are familiar with that. It's how much do I realize that I'm acting as some sort of antenna, picking up a lot of things from what is coming into the field, but coming into the field that is out there, or saying, what is it that we have not brought in yet? David Drake did a very interesting job with the CFE for professional development. And I trained with him many years ago. And he's always saying, okay, what is not in the field that should be? So reflexivity has got to do with that. So it's not an action, it's a disposition. And it's a skill developed over time. It's something that is like a muscle that we continue building, and that brings that self-awareness. Who am I here? Why am I brought into this conversation? So again, Damian, I think we can go into this at length. But to me, that disposition, that awareness of impacting systems is key to being a supervisor. It's also key to being a coach. But to being a supervisor is much more relevant. So how does this land with you? I would like to make room for that. For Damian and for anyone else.
For me, I think it's 8:40 p.m. at night and I had a long day. So I'm trying to understand. I was not able to completely grasp it yet. I'm trying to figure out what it is. Wonder if anybody else would summarize it in some way, your understanding.
No, I'm still fuzzy on the difference, I guess. I'm sorry, Frederick, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just not clear. I don't know, is there a bottom line, real brief? What's the difference? Because I guess I incorporated a lot of reflexivity in my understanding of reflection. So anyway.
Okay, bottom line, reflect is we get together and think for a purpose, or we do it alone. I'm reflecting on this. I have the capacity to think about my thoughts. As my husband says, he's got in his WhatsApp, are my thoughts useful? So I can do that, I can reflect. Reflexivity is how do I act like a mirror of what is going on around and bring it into the conversation. How I pick signs and how I am ready to go into parallel processes, or I am willing to be that antenna that picks up things and says, what are we not looking at? So it's not just the thinking on the thought, but the thinking on the complexity around. Does that make a bit more sense, or am I even muddling it up worse?
No, well, my body is, I hear you describe that. Here's reflection and does this. And when I hear reflexivity, the description, my body has this sense of this. It's like the difference between coaching and supervision, right? One's goal directed and then one is exploration directed. I don't know, is that at all
I think I love the way you made it somatic of the opening up. To me, one is up here, the thinking, and the other is opening up and saying, what else is there that I am not capturing or that I am capturing right now that I can bring to the service of what I'm doing as a supervisor? Again, we can go on endlessly on this, but I would like to go into questions before we finish, and I'm looking at the time.
But
So
I love it, Clara. I think it's good to challenge us to continue curiosity about this distinction. We don't need to have all of the answers right now, but we need to start
and
thinking about it. I find it that interesting.
and if you go into EMCC's global website and you check reflexivity and reflectivity, there are papers on that. Some of you may have read them. I honestly am still grappling with it. Those are concepts that some are already yours and are embodied, and some are, okay, where am I regarding this? Because I'm beginning to look into that. So I'm not speaking as the expert, but as the co-learner, which is the way I look at supervision too. It's like, okay, I'm bringing this here so we can evolve in our thinking and our doing, but nowhere near a defined answer. At least I don't have one, and I can live with that for now. That's one thing I've learned to sit with my uncertainty and with my not knowing in more comfort. And I think that's another thing that supervision has brought to me. So, competence 7, and then we go to the questions, relates to systemic awareness. And we said, okay, what is a systemic awareness? What are we talking about? And one thing we took also from the co-signatures of this Sustainability Coaching Alliance, I never get the name right, but ICF, EMCC, and many other organizations are co-signatories of this involvement with what is human and non-humans, how much the coaching profession needs to address the taking care of our planet. This is another big conversation. So when we think about systemic awareness, it's systemic in terms of humans and non-humans, in terms of how much a supervisor understands and comprehends the impact of conflicts, of authority, of power, whether we work with government or with private companies or with NGOs. How much we understand culture when it comes to corporate culture, professional culture, countries. And we think everybody from this country is a given way. No, think again, because of family, because of a number of things. But this is a competence that as supervisors, we should nurture. It's not we should have, but we should nurture. And then again, also organizational awareness. What happens within teams? What happens within a given business where my coaching client is working? So I understand the ecosystem they operate in because they're not all the same. So this is one thing that we chose to emphasize when we talk about competence 7 and systemic awareness. Humans, non-humans, culture, impact of conflict, power dynamics. How much do we, as supervisors, come into contact with that understanding to the service of our client and their clients? So the more I think about it, the more I say, oh my God, that's a very major thing. And it is important because schools need to pay attention to this. Coaching schools. How much do we encourage supervision to be part of training? Because otherwise we get coaches who never get supervised, at least in our part of the world. That's the one I know best. So the conversation, you see, I go too fast. So those are the questions I thought about. What are the questions that are emerging? What is awareness that is emerging? And what is our relationship to a framework? Is that something we need to kowtow? We need to memorize? We need to do what with? So over to you, because I've done too much talking so far.
So now we can, we don't have time to go to breakout rooms, but we can have a conversation here because it's a small group. So the question I have before we go to questions is, where are since EMCC kept the 8 competencies, they include team coaching, they include technology, where do you see the main differences in the new competency framework?
Those two permeate all competences.
In the
to a
language that you
larger,
explain is okay.
to a larger or a smaller extent, but it goes from contracting to facilitating groups. So we looked at the wording and we tried to keep it simple, but trying to say, okay, how does AI impact here? And team coaching, where? Just for that awareness of the existence and how we relate to that.
Thank you, Clara, for your presentation. And it's really showing us the complexity that is coming to us more and more. Because, I doubt that one supervisor will be able to hold all those lenses at one time. I was on the call yesterday, and this is a discussion that is coming more and more, which is about cultural nuances. Because more and more people are telling that they are global supervisor. But a global supervisor doesn't just happens all of a sudden. And we were in the group that people calling from Saudi Arabia, and they were telling that sometimes some people refrain from bringing cases because of their religion, because of the thing they're going to be categorized. And definitely adding AI, because Jazz Rasool was one of my keynote speaker on the coaching, on the book club last year. So we know him because he has been interacting with us. But definitely it will take some time for people to enter that complexity and choose maybe which lens that they are feeling comfortable to work with.
I fully agree with you. Absolutely. This is just the beginning of a conversation.
You're scratching the surface.
And by the way,
Absolutely.
I don't know, Clara, if you saw in the chat box, Kevin shared a definition and distinction that is really clear. It really helps you understand the difference between reflection and reflexivity. It's exactly what you said, but like again in a different language that helps to clarify it. So there you maybe even use that in the future in your presentation. This, Kevin, this is really great. Where do you get it from?
Reflection and reflexivity has always existed, but it was not so clear the difference. That's why people just stick to reflection, because it has always existed with people like Mrs. Hodge, etc. You could hear about reflectivity and reflexivity, but now it seems that it's coming back, and we will need to make the difference. For me, I make the difference by reflexivity. I see a mirror, And when you see yourself in a mirror, you see things like an image of you coming back to you. What do you see when you see that? And for me, that's the way I do the difference compared to reflectivity.
Yeah, and I agree. And thank you for bringing that up and for bringing the EMCC definition. The document is quite complete. That's why I encourage you to read it.
I shared the
think,
document, Clara. I shared the document in the chat box.
yeah,
So
I
if,
saw that
so
right
if people
now.
want to download it, you can have it handy and you can read it. And maybe next month we can continue the conversation. Because I think that this is a very, I'm not expect, Clara, that you make it till midnight again. But
No, I
maybe,
will make all of you
but
be
we
with
can
me
make
at midnight.
somebody, we can bring somebody else from the Center of Excellence that may be interested and willing to come and do to continue the conversation, because I think that's interesting
Sure.
if people like the idea. Or for everybody just to read this document and then next time we can come back and continue the exploration, because I think that can be helpful. Frederick?
Will that be recorded? Unfortunately, next month I'll be in Bhutan about that time, and I probably won't have internet there.
Okay, thank you for letting us know, but you may see the recording later too.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you for letting us know. But I'm wondering if people are interested in continuing this conversation.
100%.
It's very important to continue this conversation because it's part of the evolution, and people might feel a little bit lost if we don't continue the conversation.
And I think maybe we can go looking at that document more like Clara, you give us an oversight of everything and then maybe going part by part, maybe spending some time. And we don't want to commit you at midnight, but you may think about it. And then you may ask somebody else at the Center of Excellence if anybody will be available or interested. And if not, we will do it ourselves. We will just do like a. Now, before we go, Clara, I want to recognize you. I want to thank Clara for staying till midnight, now 1 in the morning in Argentina, for doing this. We're going to be sharing this recording so people can benefit from learning about EMCC's new framework. A couple of announcements. General Beer is organizing an activity for next Monday on my new book that just came out. So do you have this flyer handy?
I'm going to stick it now.
Okay,
Just
great.
don't worry.
So
I will do it very quickly.
we're going to discuss my new book, Live with a Coaching Mindset, that came out a couple of weeks ago. And it's about how we can use it as also supervisors, how that can benefit us working with coaches and leaders. So if you can make it, I'm probably not going to be good for Asia time, I don't think. But we were going to record it, so you can watch the recording. But still, because it's 8 a.m. in the morning. What time is the meeting, Genevieve?
The meeting is always, I think it is 6 p.m. Paris time, which is 9 a.m. Pacific time. I'm just going to
Yes,
stick
9
it.
a.m.
Yeah, I'm just going to stick it now in the chat
Those
box.
those are friendlier times.
For you
Normally,
and midnight for everybody here. So not for the colleague here, but I want to thank everybody for being here today. We'll see you next month and continue the conversation. And then Clara, you will let us know if it's who will be supporting us, if anybody from the Center of
I'll
Excellence,
let
if
you know.
anybody's available.
Can I ask for one word on
It's
what
3
you're
o'clock for
walking
me,
away
so-
with?
Yeah, let's do that. We have 1 minute.
Just one
Let's
word
go around.
from each one of you. What are you walking away with from this?
I have to do more research. So my word is research.
Okay, thank you.
Could
Anything
you resume
else?
in 2 words?
Expansion.
Okay, I like that.
For me, it's
Thank
a
you.
big leap because we are stepping in something huge now, at the EMCC.
Thank you, and I agree.
For me, is the ecosystem. So the extensiveness.
Thank you.
For me, it's a question mark with integrity, because I find I have not done team coaching training, and I'm reflecting the last supervision session was related to this. But if I can have an additional word, growth mindset. So what the experience you said about AI, and the person not wanting to be challenged, how much is it going to limit our growth mindset? That's one of the questions that came up for me.
Yeah, very interesting one. Thank you.
And for me, it's reflexivity. I need to learn about it. I need to learn about it.
Okay, so let's continue the conversation. Thank you so much
Thanks, everybody.
for inviting me.
So hope to see
Bye.
some of you next Monday.
If anybody is available, join us. If not, we'll see the recording. Great seeing everyone.
In the morning.
Bye.
3 o'clock is not
Thank
in the
you.
morning.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you for staying.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.